Okay, so today I want to talk about the impending home repair crisis that I don't see anybody talking about. So you may or may not know I am a real estate broker, and I've seen over the past year that there's been an increase in like necessary repairs that need to get done. Right? Like there's always repairs that need to get done, of course, but it's like deferred maintenance that is so deferred that it's caused non-maintenance issues. You know what I mean? Like there's just stuff that's going on that really could have been avoided if somebody had just either hired somebody to take care of it or had learned how to take care of it themselves. Repair costs, they only go up the longer you ignore them, right? If you got a leak in the roof, guess what? The longer you let that leak go, the more water damage is going to appear in your house, right? It's simple math. It's simple physics. If something's wrong with your house, you need to go ahead and take care of it while it's not a big problem, or it's going to cause one, a bigger problem, and then two, more other problems that just compound and add up over time. So, once again, talking about real estate as a practice, I looked today, as the day of this recording, at homes that are under $200,000, right? Something that should be attainable for like your average person, that should be attainable, right? You should be able to get like an FHA loan and go get a house, and pay it off over time, etc., right? American dream, all that. So under $200,000 for properties that were fixer-uppers, okay? And I was able to find 400 that were labeled as fixer. So as a real estate agent, in the MLS, they have that filter you can put on there. Is this a fixer? And 400 people who were honest about their listing that they were supposed to be categorized as a fixer. Now, I switched it off and searched for non-fixers. All right, we got 1,444 properties that were labeled as non-fixers. But guys, a lot of these are fixers, okay? Like, I looked through the list today, man. Some of them were very obvious, even from the front picture. Like, they got tarps on the roof kind of deal, They got like holes in the back of the roof. Like whoever listed it just didn't bother hitting the fixer button, right? So we got 400 labeled fixers. We've got, I didn't go through the whole list, but most of the stuff under like 90K is going to have something wrong with it. And a lot of the stuff above 90K is also going to have stuff wrong with it. So why am I talking about this? Well, because it's important for people, and I guess I'm trying to get more folks talking about this and thinking about this. It's important that we take care of what we have. Like, maintenance is not an option. Maintenance has to happen. And throughout this economic crisis that's been going on, the past 4 or 5 years, partially because of COVID, but also because of responses to COVID and policies and whatnot. I don't want to get too far into that, but things do have a knock-on effect. If I lost my job during COVID, I can't work, and I don't have an income, well, I'm not going to pay to get my water heater checked out. And if I don't know how to do it myself, I'm not going to do it myself. So there's like a knowledge gap for new homeowners, where they don't know how to take care of the things that are in their own home, and they can't afford to get somebody who knows what they're doing to come out and check on it. And it's very sad, and I wish that there was as much of a desire to teach homeowners how to repair their own things. I feel like we would save a lot of money as an economy. Don't call, for things that a general homeowner could do and knows how to do, we wouldn't have to call the plumber every time. The plumber could just focus on the big stuff that, you need a professional for. And there's a lot of resources out there to teach you how to buy a home, teach you how to get into debt, and how to get a mortgage and try to find a good rate and all that stuff. There's a lot of resources for that. I think there's also resources for home repair videos and whatnot, but I just feel like they're not promoted as much, at least in my world. If you're in a different world, maybe you can elucidate me, but in the real estate world, it's all about buying and selling. Let it be the next person's problem, or we're just going to hire somebody to take care of that for us, right? It's not, hey, here's a home, here's your instruction manual on how to take care of it, right? We don't do that. Well, first off, because, as real estate agents and brokers, we're really told, like, hey, don't go out of your depth. Don't go out of your field. If you are not a professional plumber or electrician or carpenter or HVAC technician, etc., don't go too far out to tell your clients what they should and shouldn't do, right? And so it's kind of just left up in the air as a liability thing, like, oh, we can't tell you, even if we know it just from hanging around inspectors and hanging around contractors and stuff. It's kind of like, well, don't really say anything. Don't put yourself as liable for that, because then they could come back and sue you, right? And that's kind of sad that we're in such a litigious state there. Well, hey, this is kind of a tangent, but speaking of litigation, I talked with one of the people who was on the Georgia Association of Realtors form committee, right? Because we use forms to write contracts, help people negotiate, write amendments, things of that nature. And back in the 90s, apparently the forms were like 1 page, maybe 2 page. You might have an exhibit or an amendment that you needed to add, especially with like lead-based paint or something like that, like a basic disclosure. But then over time, through all this, buyers suing sellers, buyers suing sellers agents and buyers agents, suing attorneys, suing lenders, all that stuff, everything that has kind of happened and occurred since that time, like the bare minimum basic purchase and sale agreement is like 10 pages now. And that's without adding all the extra stuff you have to do if you're getting a loan or you're getting, repairs done, etc., because they need to put protections and clarifications in there so that people don't sue. They just do what was in the contract, right? Anyway, that was kind of a tangent. But another thing I wanted to talk about that is related to this is trades, right? The number of tradespeople in the society is important to know about, because they're the ones who make the houses professionally, and then, they should either be teaching us how to maintain it, or they should be available, to hire to maintain it, etc., etc. So I went ahead and I looked back, and I guess in my head, there's a lot of talk that I hear about how the trades are dying, or, it's a good time to be a tradesperson because they make so much money, etc., etc. I just wanted to see how many people are actually doing these jobs, right? How many people are actually plumbers, roofers, electricians, etc. So I went ahead, I did the digging for you, so you don't have to. You can dig deeper if you want. I checked for 2007, 2019, and 2024. So here's what I found. Oh, let me get that. And I'll put the numbers up on the screen too. All right, so for 2007 plumbers, we had 697,000. In 2019, we had 637,000. And in 2024, we had 636,000. Now, we lost, so that means over the course of, 5 years, we lost about 5,000 plumbers, right? And, like 61,000 plumbers we lost over the course of, since 2007. So that's a trade that is slowly dying out. And when I think of a plumber, it's the people who, of course, who go in and install it to begin with, and pipe fitters and steam fitters and things like that. It's the person who goes in and install it to begin with. And then it's also the people who crawl into those nasty, disgusting crawl spaces that no one takes the time to clean out, that get gross over the years, start getting mold and all that crap. And nobody goes under there until something goes wrong. and then here comes the plumber. They got to crawl up under there and get to all those pipes, man. And I've seen some of those crawl spaces. I'm not crawling in there, man. So kudos to you if you're one of the folks who, you know, puts on that suit and heads up under there, and does all that, and uses your skill to help people. I appreciate y'all who are still out there. You 636,000. What else? We got carpenters. So with carpenters, we've also seen a big decrease. So in 2007, we had 1,824,000 carpenters. In 2019, we had 1,292,000 carpenters. In 2024, we had 1,279 carpenters. So that's another one of those trades that's on the decline. And you know, I also think about it in terms of population growth. If you look at 2007 versus 2024, I think it's an increase of about like 40 million people. So it's not like, oh, everybody's just dying out, so therefore the plumbers are all and the carpenters are all dying out. It's like people aren't becoming plumbers faster than they're retiring or dying off. You know what I mean? Okay, let's get to the next one. This is one that's actually gone up. I looked at electricians. In 2007, we had 912,000. 2019, 914,000. And in 2024, 992,000. So with the electricians, and with all of these, keep in mind, it's not all just residential tradespeople. It's also folks who are going out and doing commercial and industrial work. So, you know, it did increase, which, you know, hey, that's wonderful. But also, you know, the technological innovations that have occurred over the course of, you know, since 2007, I mean, we needed the electricians. We probably needed more electricians than that, honestly, with all of the power grid that we need to go to these new developing rural areas. For like the Wi-Fi and, you know, that kind of revolution that occurred back in the early 2000s. Let's see. And of course, cell service and data expansion and whatnot. Anyway, home appliance repair people. Okay, back in 2007, we had 51,000. 2019, no change. Isn't that something? No change. 2019, we had 51,000 home appliance repair people. Interesting. 2024, we had 34,000 home appliance repair people. So that one also went down after the pandemic, which I guess kind of makes sense. You know, you can't really make house calls as much when, you know, there's a pandemic going on. So they probably shut up shop and just decided not to come back or something of that nature. All right, we got some more that I wanted to touch on before I end the video. We got maintenance and repair workers. So these are like the general stat that I found that's like just general maintenance and repair workers. In 2007, we had 488,000. 2019, it increased to 579,000. And in 2024, it increased to 725,000. So that's one of those that is increasing, and I can really see why, because, you know, all these old houses from the previous century, they need that upkeep. You know, you got to come out, you got to service it, you got to keep up with it. And so the workers who are repairing and maintaining those things, that's gone up. And, you know, once again, like I said, it's not just residential. Okay, HVAC. So this is another one that's gone up, but this, my gut feeling is that it hasn't gone up as much as it should have, especially with changing climate. You know, with the increase in temperature that we've seen over the years. So we got 403,000 in 2007, 466,000 in 2019, and 495,000 in 2024. So kudos to you HVAC folks who go out there in the middle of the summer when the when the AC isn't working and you're working in that hot weather, trying to get those ducks in a row. Thank you for your service. Let's see. We got manufactured buildings and mobile home installers. This was an interesting one. So back in 2007, I didn't know this was a stat, but when I saw it, I'm like, oh, I need to include that. For mobile home installers, 2007, we got 18,000. 2019, we got 5,000. And then 2024, we got 7,000. So that's something to ponder on as far as, mobile homes, manufactured buildings. That's kind of supposed to be like the go-to alternative if you aren't getting like a stick-built home. If you're not getting like a solid foundation home, at least we have like the mobile homes available for you. They're not as durable, they're not going to last as long, but at least it's something to live in. You got everything you need, that kind of deal. So that went down overall, but I'm wondering why it went down and then popped back up just a little bit. Interesting thought. Anyway, brick, block, and stonemasons. This one, when I saw this one, I had to take a step back because it's stark here. Because I like brick houses. I like block houses, stone houses, things that are going to last. That your children, their children's children, their children's children, until somebody decides to sell it, and then their children are going to be able to live in that home if you build it right. You know what I mean? So 2007, 233,000 brick, block, and stonemasons. Then in 2019, we were down to just 152,000. And then 2024, we only had 128,000 left in the brick, block, and stonemasons. So, you got to think about that in terms of not just the new construction that's going on, but also in terms of what do you do when there's a crack in the stone? What do you do when there's a crack in the wall? You gotta do something. You gotta take it down and replace it, or I don't know. Roofers. This one was one that was kind of stable with roofing. So 269,000 in 2007. 2019 we had 222,000, and then in 2024 we had 240,000 roofers. So that one's remained kind of stable. Roofers, once again, that's one of those that they are actually also the repair people. So once again, with the increase in population, it makes me worried that that's not being kept up with. But yeah, so those are kind of my thoughts. I wanted to get that out. What are you guys seeing in your states, if you have access to that data, about whether or not a listing is a fixer-upper, or if it's actually livable? Is it move-in ready? You know what I mean? Like, a good solid move-in ready house is hard to find. And when I'm looking for my clients, I'm looking at the hot sheet, I'm looking at the searches for the certain areas that they're looking in, and if they're limited to just like a city or a county, sometimes there's no move-in ready houses. Like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, we need to get on this. And what you can do, dear viewer, if you're capable, learn one of these trades, become a jack of all of them at least, so that you're not completely helpless. Read a book. Like, I saw a plumbing book the other day, and I read it. I learned something, man. Like, you shouldn't have to rely on the experts for everything. Just learn a little bit of each of them, and then if you get yourself in trouble that you can't get out of, then you call them. You know what I mean? Because right now it looks like, at least with those ones I mentioned, with the masons and the carpenters and the plumbers, it looks like we're way down. And maybe there's an economist out there who knows how to measure better how far down we are from what the actual demand needs to be, but it doesn't feel right. So, I almost forgot to bring up kind of one of the main reasons I even started researching about this type of thing. Look, you run into this thing where there's a home seller who is who has done some work to a house, but it's not done. They haven't finished everything that needs to be done on the house to make it market ready, right? Then you get an investor who's coming in. They want to make a profit too, and they're looking at the cost that it's going to take to purchase the property, and they're looking at the cost that they're going to have to pay to buy the property, and they're looking at the profit margins that their either their debt funders or their their joint venture partners are looking at, like profit margin wise, what they need to be comfortable with the project, and the numbers just aren't adding up. I talked to a contractor, a friend of mine, and I asked him, like, hey, if I have land and I want you to just build a basic 2-bed 1-bath brick house, okay, what do you think it's going to cost in today's economy if you were to give me a quote? And he said, well, it would depend on the location and what they need to do in terms of that, but in general, it'd probably be somewhere in the range of $130,000 to $140,000 for a brand new 2-bedroom 1-bathroom house. That really shocked me, and that's not even the land price, right? Because you still got to buy the land with that, and it's just, then you got to get a loan, get the interest to pay, for the construction. You got to get a construction loan, or either that, or maybe, if you're just, rich like that, you got the money, just go ahead and put down so they can start the project. But that really just kind of made me think, if you're buying like one of these older brick houses and trying to repair it and fix it up, would it be better to buy it new? I don't even know anymore, because the quality of work, you hear horror stories all the time about how projects are getting rushed and they're using poor materials and ripping people off and whatnot. Good folks are out there, good hardworking honest folks are out there, but I hear it all the time. Past clients, current clients talk about how they hired somebody to do a job for them and then they just took off with the money, or they came, they did a little bit and they left it unfinished. It's a weird state that we're in right now, and I feel like a lot of people who I talk to haven't quite caught up to how strange it is. If you're trying to get a loan, the banks are going to take off with the usury, right? I think in the Bible it talks about how usury is a sin and how we shouldn't charge interest to our brother. But to the foreigners you can charge interest. And there's a story in, I think it's Nehemiah, where Nehemiah is looking at a situation where the ruling elite have loaned out money to people so that they can eat, but they're taking their land as collateral and they're charging 1% interest. Now that was a very convicting passage for me, because he was getting onto them about 1% interest. And we are at, I think I checked a couple weeks ago and it was like 6 point something or other was like the general rate that was going around. But that's just unconscionable. We've gone way off the deep end with our financial system. Everything's bloated. The bubbles are up. So get back to a good base reality, and don't get too caught up in the hype of wealth and things of that nature. I'll leave it at that. Y'all have a great day.